Hello to all. Today we are going to study a very important topic which is related to the human reproduction, and that is the male reproductive system. Okay, and very first you must know that this male reproductive system is located in the pelvic region, pelvic, or you can say it as pelvis region, and it includes a pair of testes. It includes a pair of testes. Within couple of minutes you will study the details about the testes, a pair of testes and accessory ducts. Now in accessory ducts, what are included? So retestes, Vas Deferens, Epididymis and Vas Deferens are included in the accessory ducts. The external genitalia in the male reproductive system is the penis, and there are two, or I can say, in fact I will say three accessory glands: paired seminal vesicle, a single prostate gland, and a pair of bulbourethral gland, or we can also say it as Cowper's gland. Okay, now very first we must study the primary male sex organ, and that primary male sex organ is the testes. And in humans there is one pair of testes. This is the TS section of the testes, the transfer section of the testes. And the primary functions, the primary two important functions of the testes are that testes produces the spermatozoa. We all know that sperm or spermatozoa is called as a male gamete, and it is produced or synthesized in the testes. How it is synthesized we will study in detail just now. Now testes produces spermatozoa or the male gamete, and because male gamete is very important and all the sexually reproducing organism have a reproductive unit known as the gamete, so male gamete is important. Okay, and the second function is that the testes also secrete the male sex hormone, and that male sex hormone is known as the testosterone. Testosterone is the principal androgen, and it is a steroid hormone, and the testosterone is important for the development of the secondary sexual characteristics in the males as soon as the male enter the age of the puberty, that is 13 to 14 years, say for broadening of the shoulders, deepening of the voice, development of the beard and the mustache. All these are the secondary sexual characteristics, and they are controlled by a hormone known as the testosterone. Now let's talk about the location where the testes are located. So basically in human beings, the testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity. Testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity. Though the development during the fetal life started, right, when the male was in the uterus of the mother, during that period only the testes started to develop. But what happens that testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity, means we will say that testes are extra abdominal. Extra abdominal means they are found outside the abdominal cavity. So they are situated outside the abdominal cavity within a pouch called as scrotum sac, which is within a pouch, and that pouch is called as scrotum sac. Okay, say for this line is indicating the portion above the, or we can say that the portion found above the line is the abdominal cavity, and the portion below this line is the portion outside the abdominal cavity. So outside the abdominal cavity there is a pouch known as the scrotum sac, right, and in that pouch the testes is found. Now the question arises that why do testes descend down in the scrotum sac? Actually the testes were found in the abdominal cavity, but during the 7th month, remember this thing, during the 7th month of the fetal development or the fetal life, we know very well that the entire fetus develop in 9 months. So in human beings during the 7th month of the fetal life, the testes descend down in the scrotum sac. Now the question arises, why the testes have descended down in the scrotum sac? So the testes have descended down in the scrotum sac. Why? Because scrotum help in maintaining the low temperature. Scrotum help in maintaining the low temperature of the testes. Right? How much low temperature? 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius temperature lower than the normal internal body temperature. And this temperature is necessary for the spermatogenesis. We must know that our body temperature is high, 37 degrees Celsius, right? But the temperature of the scrotum, which is found outside the abdominal cavity, the temperature is less, 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius less than the body temperature. And testes require the lower temperature for the production of the normal sperms. That's why the testes have descended down in the scrotum sac. Fine. So the testes descend down in the scrotum sac during the 7th month. Okay. And one more thing, question arises that the scrotum, this scrotum, which is a pouch-like structure, communicates with the abdominal cavity. Means it is in communication with the abdominal cavity through which canal? So it is in connection with inguinal canal. Try to understand it. This is the abdominal cavity, fine, and this is the scrotum sac. So during the embryonic development, testes were in the abdominal cavity. But what happened during the 7th month of the embryonic development? This testes from the abdominal cavity descend down in the scrotum sac. But how? So it passes through a canal, the testis passes through a canal in the scrotum sac, and that canal is called as the inguinal canal. So remember this thing, scrotum communicates with the abdominal cavity through a canal, and this canal through which the testes descend down in the scrotum sac is called as the inguinal canal. Okay. Now there is a diseased condition known as the Cryptorchidism. There is a diseased condition called as Cryptorchidism. In few children, what happens that the testes are not able to descend down in the scrotum sac, and this disorder is called as the Cryptorchidism. Okay, if the testes are unable or are failed to descend down in the scrotum sac, then this condition is called as Cryptorchidism. Fine. Now, as we know very well, we are talking about the human beings, and in human beings, after the birth, the testes are permanently found in the scrotum sac, means they are extra-abdominal. But there are few mammals such as bats, such as rats and otter. All three are the mammals. In them, the testes are not permanently found in the scrotum sac. The testes descend to the scrotum sac only during the breeding season. But when the breeding season is over, again the testes will move towards the abdominal cavity. Okay. Now there are few mammals such as whales, elephant, dolphins, seals, and egg-laying mammals such as prototherians. In them the testes remain permanently in the abdomen. Why? Because their body temperature is low. And they do not require cooling. Okay. So in whales, elephant, dolphin, seal, prototherians, the testes are permanently found in the abdominal cavity. Okay. Now, one more thing, might be this thing will be new for you people. There are certain muscles known as Premaster muscles. There are certain muscles known as the Premaster muscles, and also Dartos muscles, which are the muscles of the scrotum sac. And these muscles, Premaster muscles and Dartos muscles of the scrotum sac, help in positioning of the testes. How they are responsible for the positioning of the testes? When outside temperature is low, say if I talk about the winter season, when the outside temperature is low than the body temperature, so what happens? These muscles, Premaster muscles and Dartos muscles, will contract to move testes close to the abdominal cavity. These muscles will contract during the winter season or the low temperature. So what will happen, that the testes will move close to the abdominal cavity. But when the outside temperature is high, say for outside temperature is high, more than the 37 degrees Celsius temperature, that is in the summers, in that condition, these cremaster muscles and the dartos muscles will relax and they will move away the testes from the abdominal cavity. Like this we can say that these two muscles, cremaster and the dartos muscles, are I can say helpful in positioning of the testes in the scrotum sac. Are you getting? So now we will be studying that the testes is surrounded by which layer, okay, and internally what is the structure of the testes. So let's have a look here. Now the testes is surrounded by a capsule, and that capsule is called as a tunica albuginea. Are you able to see here? This is the capsule which is surrounding the testes, and this capsule is called as the tunica albuginea. Okay, so testes is surrounded by a capsule known as the tunica albuginea. One more thing you must know, that there is a structure known as the gubernaculum. Say for if this is the scrotum sac, say for this is the scrotum sac, and here the testes are there. Okay, now we know very well that in human beings the testes are found permanently in the scrotum sac. They never go back again in the abdominal cavity. Why? Because the testes are attached to the scrotum sac with the help of certain ligaments, and these ligaments are called as are called as gubernaculum. So gubernaculum is a ligamentous, it is a ligamentous connective cord. Gubernaculum is a ligamentous connective cord or the elastic cord which connects the testes, to the scrotum sac posteriorly, so that the testes never go back again in the abdominal cavity. Fine. And one more thing, orchiectomy. What is orchiectomy? This term is also associated with the testes. Orchiectomy is the surgical removal of the testes, and it is also called as the castration. This castration is done basically in the oxes. Oxes are used in the agriculture fields for plowing and all the other works, agriculture associated work. So what happens, that the testosterone hormone gives aggressiveness to the ox, and if the aggressiveness will be there, then that ox will not work properly in the agriculture fields. So what happens, that the testes are removed from that ox, so that the aggressiveness occurred because of the testosterone hormone may not occur. Okay, so this is called as the castration. So castration is generally done in the oxes to remove the aggressiveness of the testosterone hormone, because testosterone hormone gives aggressiveness. So this is not done in the case of the human beings. Okay, now if I talk about the shape, the shape of the testes is oval, and the size of the each testes is, if I talk about the length, it is 4 to 5 centimeter, and width is 2 to 3 centimeter. Okay, now if I see the internal structure of the testes, then each testes is having about 250. Each testes is having about 250 compartments called as the testicular lobules. 250 compartments called as the testicular lobules, and they are formed because of the invagination. They are formed because of the invagination of the tunica albuginea. Tunica albuginea invaginates inside and divides the testes into 250 compartments or chambers called as the testicular lobules. Okay, now how many chambers are there, how many compartments are there in testes? 250. Now each compartment or each testicular lobule contains 1 to 3 highly coiled seminiferous tubules, and seminiferous tubules are the tubules in which sperms are produced, and sperms are the male gametes. Okay, so we can say that the seminiferous tubules are structural in the functionality of the testes. Now if there are 250 compartments and in each compartment 2 to 3 seminiferous tubules are found, okay, say for we can say that each testes now contain how many seminiferous tubules? 750. Each compartment is containing, say, for 3 seminiferous tubules. So compartments are 250. So 250 into 3, that comes out to be 750 seminiferous tubules. So each human testis contain at least 750 seminiferous tubules which are responsible for the production of sperms, and that's why they are called a structure and the function unit of testes. If I see a TS section, of the seminiferous tubules, then the seminiferous tubules are lined from outside by tunica propria. Just below the tunica propria is the germinal epithelium, and associated with this germinal epithelium are two cells. The smaller cells are called as the spermatogonia cells. The small cells are called as the spermatogonia cells, also called as male germ cells, and they synthesize and secrete. Okay, they form the sperms. The name is indicating male germ cells or the spermatogonia. Means these spermatogonia cells undergo meiotic division. Why? Because they are twin. When they will undergo meiotic division, they will form the sperm which are haploid. So the second type of the cells associated with the germinal epithelium are the Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells are called as sustentacular cells, also called as the nurse cells. You can also call it as supporting cells. They are tall cells. And Sertoli cells are providing the nutrition to these germ cells, or I can say the sperm. So they are called as nurse cell because they are providing nutrition to the germ cells or the sperms. Are you getting? Now, if I talk about the region outside the seminiferous tubule, say for this is the seminiferous tubule. Now there are 750 seminiferous tubules. So the region outside the seminiferous tubule, the region which is present outside the seminiferous tubule is called as the interstitial space. And in this interstitial space, several small blood vessels are found as well as interstitial cells are found. So in between the seminiferous tubules, what is present? Interstitial space is present. In this interstitial space, small blood vessels as well as interstitial cells are found. These interstitial cells are popularly called as Leydig cells, right? What is the meaning of the Leydig cell? Nothing. There was a scientist whose name was Leydig who first of all discovered them, and hence the cells are called as Leydig cell. The scientist's name was Leydig who discovered them. That's why they are called as Leydig cells. Otherwise they are called as the interstitial cells. And these Leydig cells are very important because they synthesize and secrete. the testicular hormone known as the androgen. And we know very well the principal androgen is known as the testosterone, which control all the secondary sexual characteristics in the males. Now these seminiferous tubules, all these 750 seminiferous tubules unite to form straight tubules. These seminiferous tubules unite to form straight tubules, and these straight tubules are called as tubuli recti. These straight tubules are called as tubuli recti, which opens into a network, all the seminiferous tubules open into a network, which is a cavity which is found towards the posterior region of the testes, and this network is called as rete testes. So all the seminiferous tubules, what will happen? They will unite to form straight tubules known as tubuli recti, and tubuli recti will open into a network or a cavity called as the rete testes. Now what will happen? From rete testes, 15 to 20 tubules will arise. 15 to 20 tubules arise called as vas deferens. From rete testes, 15 to 20 tubules arise called as vas deferens, which enter into the caput part of the epididymis, and these vas deferens are carrying the sperms which are synthesized in the testes. Now the these vas deferens I have said now they are 15 to 20 tubules which are arising from a network-like structure called as the rete testes. Okay, conduct the sperm. They are actually carrying the sperm. Vas Deferens carrying the sperm which were synthesized in testes into the caput part of the epididymis. Means these Vas Deferens arise from the rete testes and open into the caput part. Open into the caput part of the epididymis. Okay. Now, the question arises, what is epididymis? So, epididymis is a irregular, it is a irregular, narrow, highly convoluted tubule. Convoluted means highly coiled tubule found on the inner surface of the testes. Means found on the inner surface means the concave surface of the testes. This is the convex surface of the testes. Okay. So epididymis is irregular, narrow, highly coiled tubule found on the inner surface of the testes. And remember one thing, there is a duct in the embryonic stages known as the Wolffian duct. So Wolffian duct of the embryo gave rise to the epididymis in the adult. Okay, and always you have to remember that Vas Deferens actually Vas Deferens open into caput epididymis. Vas Deferens open into caput epididymis. Now, what is this caput part? So the epididymis consists of three parts: caput, corpus, coda. Again I am repeating, epididymis consists of three parts: caput, corpus, coda. Say for this is the first part, known as the caput. Now this is the second part, known as the corpus, and this is the third part, known as the coda. So how many parts are there of the epididymis? Three parts: caput, corpus and coda. Caput is the anterior epididymis, corpus is the middle epididymis, and the posterior epididymis is the coda. Now coda means caudal region, tail region. Now this caput part is also called as globus major, and the coda part is also called as the globus minor. Okay. Now what is the primary function? What is the primary function of this epididymis? Epididymis is storing the sperms temporarily. Epididymis is storing the sperms temporarily, and it is also said that epididymis is meant for the maturity and mortality of the sperms also. Now coming to the next part, known as the vas deferens. Vas deferens, also called as the sperm duct. Vas deferens, also called as the sperm duct, arises from the coda epididymis. This is the coda epididymis. From the coda epididymis, a duct arises known as the vas deferens. You can see that from the coda region a duct is arising, and that duct is called as the sperm duct or the vas deferens. Why it is called a sperm duct? Because it is carrying the sperm. From the coda epididymis, it ascends into the abdomen. Means it again ascends into the abdomen. It enters into the abdomen through the inguinal canal. I will draw a diagram just now in which you will be able to see that how it enters into the abdomen. Okay. So it ascends into the abdomen through the inguinal canal, and it makes a turn over the urinary bladder. It forms a loop over the urinary bladder, and then it receives a duct from the seminal vesicle. This is the seminal vesicle and this is its duct. So vas deferens, after making a turn around the urinary bladder, receives a duct from the seminal vesicle, and now the duct of the seminal vesicle combines with the duct of the vas deferens to form the ejaculatory duct, and ejaculatory duct ultimately opens into the urethra. So it receives a duct from the seminal vesicle and opens into the urethra, through a duct, and that duct is called as the ejaculatory duct. Okay, and ejaculatory duct, remember ejaculatory duct are one pair, and they are called as the ejaculatory duct because they will ejaculate the semen into the urethra. Okay, so ejaculatory duct store and transport the sperm found in the semen from the testes to the outside through the urethra. So what is the role of the ejaculatory duct? ejaculated duct stores and transports the sperms found in the semen from the testes to the outside through the urethra. Okay, so this is all about the ejaculatory duct. Now, is it clear now? The duct of the vas deferens combined with the duct of the seminal vesicle to form a duct known as the ejaculatory duct. Now, this ejaculatory duct will carry the sperms into the urethra, and from urethra, from the urethra passes to the penis. Okay, and ultimately the semen or the sperm will be released out. Now, coming to the urethra. Now, why we are discussing here the urethra? Urethra is not the part of the male reproductive system. It is actually the part of the excretory system. But because it is associated with the reproductive system, that's why we are studying. Urethra originates from urinary bladder. Just now you will see in a diagram now. Urethra originates from urinary bladder and extends through the penis. Means urethra is originating from the urinary bladder and it will extend through the penis to its external opening. It extends through the penis to its external opening called as the urethral meatus. Okay, means urethra originates from urinary bladder. It extends through the penis to its external opening, and that external opening is called as urethral meatus. Now, urethra receives ducts of prostate gland. Urethra receives duct of prostate gland as well as it receives the duct of Cowper's gland. Okay, and urethra is a long tube. In the case of the males, it is 20 centimeter, while in the females the urethra is only 4 centimeter. Why there is a lot of difference? Because in females the urethra is having only single function, and that is the excretion or the passage of the urine. But in the case of the males, the urethra is long 20 centimeter because it has dual function, two functions. One is the excretion or the passage of the urine, and the another is the ejaculation of the semen. I can say that urethra is meant for two purposes. One for the ejaculation of the semen and one for the excretion of the passage of urine. At the time of the sexual excitement, from the urethra, ejaculation of semen will occur. But during the normal course, when there is no sexual excitement during the normal course, the urethra is meant for the passage of urine. But remember one thing, that only one thing will be passed at a time, either urine or the semen. Okay, so because of its dual function, it is 20 centimeter in the length. Okay, now after studying this, we must know that how this all things. I have said now that the vas deferens arises from the chorda epididymis and it ascends into the abdomen through the inguinal canal, and then it loops over the urinary bladder. Then it receives a duct from the seminal vesicle and then open into the ejaculatory duct, and ejaculatory duct open into urethra. Okay, so this diagram is not now sufficient. Okay, up till epididymis this diagram is okay, but from the vas deferens we must have the information that how this occurs. So let's look on this diagram. Now have a look on this diagram. This diagram is indicating the urinary bladder, and from the urinary bladder you can see from here, this portion, the urethra has been originated. So urethra originates from the urinary bladder and it ends at the tip of the penis and it opens out through urethral meatus. Okay, and you can see here that the vas deferens, these are the vas deferens. Vas deferens are one pair and they arise from the chorda. They arise from the chorda part of the epididymis. Okay, and then this vas deferens enter the abdomen. You can see through the inguinal canal. This is the inguinal canal. Through the inguinal canal, and then it makes a turn or makes a loop over the urinary bladder, and then this vas deferens up to this level is the vas deferens. Away from this level we will be not using the term vas deferens. So this vas deferens now combined with the duct of the seminal vesicle. This is the duct this is the seminal vesicle and this is its duct. So the vas deferens combine with the duct of the seminal vesicle to form the ejaculatory duct, and ejaculatory duct opens into the urethra, and urethra passes through the penis and it opens outside through urethral meatus. Ejaculatory duct pours semen into the urethra, and the urinary bladder pours urine in the urethra, and hence we can say that the urethra is having dual function to ejaculate the semen and to excrete the urine. Okay, so this diagram is a best diagram to explain the male reproductive system. Now see here, penis is the male external genitalia. Now we are discussing the external genitalia of the male reproductive system, and we know very well that the male external genitalia is the penis, and the size of the penis on an average is 12 to 15 centimeter, and it is treated as a copulatory organ. It is treated as a copulatory organ. It is vascular, means it is having a rich supply of the blood. It is a spongy and erectile structure. Okay, and it is made up of special tissue. It is made up of special tissue that helps in the erection of the penis. That helps in the erection of the penis. This helps in the erection of the penis at the time of the sexual excitement. When sexual excitement is not there, at that time the penis is loose, and this erection of the penis at the time of the sexual excitement will help in deposition of the semen into the female reproductive tract. Okay, not only this, you can see this diagram that penis contains three longitudinal columns of spongy erectile tissue, and these longitudinal columns are filled up with the blood during the sexual excitement. Okay, surrounding the urinogenital duct, that is known as the urethra, is one cylinder called as the corpora spongiosum. So the number of corpora spongiosum is 1, and above the corpora spongiosum lies 2 corpora cavernosa. So I can say that these three longitudinal columns are 2 corpora cavernosa and 1 is the corpora spongiosum. Always remember, urethra runs through corpora spongiosum, means in the center is the urethra. Urethra is surrounded by the corpora spongiosum, and on either side of the corpora spongiosum is the corpora cavernosa. Fine. One more thing, that certain fibers are present in between these three cylinders, corpora cavernosa and corpora spongiosum. Certain fibers are present, and these fibers are called as the septum penis. Now the enlarged end of the penis. The enlarged end of the penis is called as the glans penis. The enlarged end of the penis is called as the glans penis, and it is covered by a skin fold which is loose, and this skin fold is called as foreskin, or it is also called as the prepuce. Okay. Now semen is forcefully expelled. We know very well that at the time of sexual excitement, the semen is ejaculated by the urethra outside the body. Okay, so how it is expelled out? So the semen is forcefully expelled from the penis. The semen is forcefully expelled from the penis by the contraction of the smooth muscles that lines the urethra. Why? Because the ejaculatory duct have poured the semen in the urethra, and urethra is passing through the penis. So semen is forcefully expelled out from the penis by the contraction of the smooth muscles which are lining the urethra, and this act is called as the ejaculation. Okay, and Tyson gland, remember this thing, this is new for you. Tyson glands or prepucial glands. Tyson gland or prepucial glands are present in the skin of penis neck. In the skin of penis neck. In the skin of the penis neck, and they secrete a white sebaceous substance. They secrete a white sebaceous substance which is called as the smegma. Okay, so a certain white substance is secreted from the skin of the penis neck, which is called as the smegma. Okay, so this is all about the penis. Now one thing still is left, and that is known as the accessory glands which are associated with the male reproductive system. One is known as the seminal vesicle, and then the prostrate gland, and the next one is the Cowper's gland. So let's have a discussion on the seminal vesicle, which is very important gland. See now, there are certain accessory glands of the male, okay, and in the beginning also I have said that there are three types of the glands: seminal vesicle, prostate gland, and the Cowper's gland. You are able to see this diagram, that in this diagram I have shown the seminal vesicle, one pair of seminal vesicle, one prostate gland, and one pair of the Cowper's gland. Okay, so seminal vesicle, also called as the uterus masculinus, and they are one pair of structures. This one, these are one pair of structures, and they are situated behind the bladder. See this, they are situated behind the urinary bladder, or I can say at the junction of Vas deferens. Here it is Vas deferens, at the junction of the Vas deferens and prostate gland. So this is prostate gland. So at the junction of the prostate gland and the Vas deferens, what is present? The seminal vesicle is present. One pair of glands are there. These are coiled glands basically, and about 70% of the semen, about 70% of the semen is seminal fluid. About 70% of the semen is the seminal fluid, and it is secreted by the seminal vesicle. Means I want to say that semen is a mixture of sperm and seminal fluid. So I just want to say that this seminal fluid, 70% of this seminal fluid is actually secreted by the glands known as the seminal vesicle. And the pH of the seminal fluid, is around 7.4. It is between 7.2 to 7.4. Okay, so the seminal fluid secreted by the seminal vesicle is alkaline in nature, and it contains very important substances such as the fructose, which is the source of energy for the sperm. And remember this thing, that this fructose sugar is found only in the case of the males, and in the case of the females, this fructose sugar is not found. The presence of this fructose sugar is only possible when male introduce the semen into the female genital tract. Okay, not only this, citric acid is also present, ascorbic acid, prostaglandins, and certain enzymes are present in the secretion of the seminal vesicle. Okay, now coming to the prostate gland. This is the prostate gland. Prostate gland is 1 in number. It lies at the base of the bladder. You can see at the base of the bladder, and surrounds the first part of the urethra. Urethra is from here to the tip of the penis. Okay, so the first part of the urethra is actually surrounded by the prostate gland, and prostatic secretion forms about 20 to 30% volume of semen. See, the 70% of the seminal fluid is secreted by the seminal vesicle, and the rest 20 to 30% volume is actually secreted by the prostate. Okay, and the secretion of the prostate contains calcium, phosphate and citrate ions, fibrinolysin, fibrinogenase enzyme, right? And the prostatic secretion is helpful in the sperm motility, or I can say that the secretion of the prostate gland makes the sperm active, so that they show motility, vigorous motility. Okay, it is seen that in the older males above the age of the 60, there is a common problem in the males, that is the enlargement or the inflammation of the prostate gland occur. There is enlargement or the inflammation of the prostate gland, and it is known as the prostatitis. Okay, and what happens in the prostatitis, that the patient actually suffers from difficulty in urination. Either urination is not possible, or difficulty in urination occur. Okay, and the third gland is the Cowper's gland. Now you can see the position of the Cowper's gland. It is situated beneath the bladder and behind the urethra. Beneath the bladder and behind the urethra, they are also one pair. The Cowper's gland are also called as bulbourethral gland. It is the feature of the male reproductive system. They open in the urethra. Basically, they open in the urethra. Now, the secretion of, or we can say it is the color of the Cowper's gland is yellow. And what is the prime function of the Cowper's gland? it removes the acidity of the urethra. You know very well that urethra was meant for excretion of the urine and ejaculation of the semen. Now a semen consists of sperm. If the semen will be passed through the urethra, then the acidity of the urethra will destroy the sperm found in the semen. To avoid this thing, acidity of the urethra is removed by the Cowper's gland. If the acidity of the urethra will be removed by the secretion of the Cowper's gland, then the sperms present in the semen will be safely passed out and they can fertilize the ovum in the female genital tract. Okay, and not only it is removing the acidity of the urethra, it also lubricates the glans penis. Glans penis is the swollen tip of the penis, so it lubricates the glans penis and for the easy copulation. At last we have completed the accessory glands of the male, but at last what is semen? You see here, semen is a mixture of sperm. Semen is the mixture of sperm plus seminal fluid. Semen is a mixture of sperm plus seminal fluid. Okay, and this seminal fluid is the liquid portion of the semen. It is the liquid portion of the semen that consists of the secretions of the seminal vesicle, the prostate gland, the bulbourethral gland, etc. Okay, and the volume of the semen per ejaculation, is 1.5 ml to 2.5 ml. Sometimes it may even more, with a sperm count of, means the single ejaculation or this 1.5 ml to 2.5 ml of the semen consists of the sperm count of 200 to 300 million sperms in a normal person. Okay, and for normal fertility, it is written in your NCERT that for normal fertility 60% of the sperm must have normal shape and size. Right, what I am saying, for normal fertility 60% of the sperms must have normal shape and size, and 40% of the sperm found in the semen must have the vigorous motility. And if some organism is having less than 20 million of sperm per ml, then it comes under the case of the infertility. Means the male become infertile if the sperm count become less than 20 million per ml. Okay, so this is all about the semen. And what is the path of the sperm through the male body? You know very well that the sperm were produced by the seminiferous tubules. We know that seminiferous tubules open in rete testes, which was a network-like area. From the rete testes, 15 to 20 tubules arise, known as the Vas Deferens. The Vas Deferens carry the sperm towards the caput part of the epididymis. From the coda part of the epididymis, Vas Deferens arise, which is also called as the sperm duct. Vas Deferens combined with the duct of the seminal vesicle to form the ejaculatory duct. Ejaculatory duct opens into urethra, and from urethra the sperms will be released out. So this is the path of the sperm through the male body. So today in this video we have discussed the entire male reproductive system, which is very important part, and many times the question has been asked in the NEET and other exams. So you have to concentrate on this topic. Thanks a lot for watching me.